Hello, welcome to Local Anesthetic Podcast, your regular injection of weird, bizarre, strange, sinister, all the rest of it, news, locally and around the world, of course. This is episode 411 now, would you believe, and I am joined, as always, by Rob. We are recording about, we have to record some of these episodes ahead of time. It's kind of mid-October-ish time. I mean, probably by the time this episode comes out, it is going to be cold. It's about to start getting cold, Rob, and we were just saying that this is lovely. It's been lovely yet concerning weather for the opening 2 weeks of October. But I understand, Rob, you've just invested in a pair of fully waterproof shoes from Clarks. What makes these waterproof, Rob? Are they like shoes that have got like kind of thick plastic bags over them? I'm confused.
No, as far as I understand, so just to give you some context, listener, I was down in the Cotswolds last weekend, which was very pleasant, as Alex said.
Not relevant.
Well, it is relevant. I'm getting right to the point. It was glorious. As Alex and I were discussing before the podcast, I was sitting in 23-degree heat eating ice cream. At one point, we were sitting in a beer garden. I was in shorts and a t-shirt through the entirety of the weekend. And we happened to go to Bicester Village on the last day on the way back home. And as well as Jeremy Clark's farm, by the way, I went to Diddley Squat as well, which was busy.
Out of interest, why did you want to support anything that Clarkson does or touches?
Am I right in thinking you also watched the documentary, right? You watched the Clarkson's farm? I'm sure we discussed this. Why would I want to do anything?
It wasn't you. I didn't do anything. He shouldn't. No.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, but we were in the area, so I thought it would be nice. Right. We would drop in and just see what it was all about. But yeah, we went to Bicester Village, and I've got to the point, Alex, where because obviously I take Lyra to nursery and I take her on the train because Sarah usually has the car, and so I take her to nursery in the days that Sarah's in work. So I take her on the train, and it's got to that point where I just thought, I need a pair of waterproof shoes. And this particular pair in Clark's, I'm sure it won't surprise you to hear that they were in the sale. They're this new technology, they're one of the new technology they developed, which is, it looks like rubber.
A fool and his money. Yeah. Rob,
well, they said
is this because you want to walk around without an umbrella and you don't care about the rest of you getting wet, but you care about your feet getting wet?
Well, I've already got a fully waterproof coat, so I think I forgot the coat and the shoes.
Any of these things, none.
Right, okay.
If I get wet, I get wet. I mean,
Alex, a few minutes from my house, we're in open countryside, okay? You in your metropolitan liberal elite bubble, I know you can't imagine, leaving the confines of Greater London, but I need these things, and I'm even getting to the point where I'm just wondering whether I should invest in some waterproof trousers, which is not a phrase I'd ever thought I'd ever had to say out loud, but yeah, it's getting to that point. But I haven't worn them yet. We're going to wear them for the first time today.
Tractor? You could invest in one of those.
Yeah, I mean, I don't own a farm. It would be weird if my vehicle of choice was just a tractor, because it's not particularly convenient for picking Lyra from nursery. I mean, it's not particularly fast. It's quite cumbersome.
But you'd be a character in the area. People would recognise you as a local character.
I think Rod Stewart's got that nailed, Alex. To be honest.
Yeah, you're right. He's monopolised that bastard. Right, let's get on with the podcast. Unless there is any news.
No, not that I'm aware of.
Well, if there was news, Rob, I would hope that you would be aware of it. But
I would be, Alex. Sure, yeah, that's a good point.
Right.
When I say that, I've just been in business, just haven't checked the Facebook page properly.
As I said earlier, look, there's a lot. I mean, God knows, by the time this has gone out, God knows what's happening in the world. But with all these with the recent horrific acts of terrorism and everything else, this is a chance to take your mind off things, everybody. And I'm not saying that means you should forget it, but we all need just we've all got to get away from it. Even me, I've had to get away from the news recently because it's just been too much, too overwhelming. And it just feels like everything's becoming more overwhelming, which means, Rob, that this podcast is an oasis of
I mean,
well, it's always been insanity, but it makes the insanity look sane in comparison. And here's an example,
True.
Rob. This is from the Traitorous Guardian by Alexi Duggins. Now, Rob, this goes back to my childhood, to your childhood. Blue Peter, Rob. Remember Blue Peter?
I do remember Blue Peter. I was never a fan of Blue Peter, I must admit. It was.
We've had this conversation before, and I think I said to you, you always struck me as the kind of person that would have had a Blue Peter badge. But it turns out that you didn't, and you weren't a fan of the show. But you will remember, I'm sure, Rob, because I think it would have been about, I mean, that we are some years apart in age, but you remember Yvette Fielding, of course.
I do, Alex, and I think I might have actually scrolled past the story. I haven't read it though. I mean, I would say I'm more of a fan of Yvette Fielding in her most haunted days. I did quite.
Oh, right, that program, yeah, okay. Well, either way, Rob. Scandal now to rock Blue Peter, because she claims, Rob, I was a shaking, gibbering wreck. Ex-Blue Peter presenter Yvette Fielding claims she was bullied on the show. Now, I just wanted to dissect this with you. It's Thursday, the 12th of October, 2023. This was published.
Right.
TV presenter. Now, is she still presenting? I've not seen her in anything in quite some time. Have you? She's
still on Most Haunted, Alex. Most Haunted is still going, and as far as I'm aware, she is still presenting.
Is that a Channel 5 thing?
No, God, Alex, no, it's not. It's on one of the satellite channels.
Oh, like Living or something like that, right?
Yeah,
okay.
I think it actually might be Living saying that.
TV presenter Yvette Fielding, who made her name as the youngest ever host of Blue Peter, has claimed she was bullied while working on the kids' TV show. The host, who was 18 when she first appeared on the series, says the treatment she received that's so bad was that if a young presenter was treated the same today, there'd be quite a few implications. So basically, Rob, she says... So now I look back at all those episodes of Blue Peter I watched, and it makes me, again, another part of my childhood, Rob, has been corrupted, because she says, I felt very lonely because I was the youngest. I was considered a kid and a pain in the arse of a kid. And she told this on the podcast Celebrity Catch Up Life after that thing I did. I didn't enjoy my first year. I found it traumatic. She claims, Rob, she was asked to leave her parents' home, was flown to Russia for 6 weeks, having only ever been abroad twice. Now, she doesn't elaborate on that point. Was that for some kind of lefty communist BBC indoctrination, or was that for something to do with the show? Like, was she sent there for, like, Communism 101?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I mean, it's obviously to do with the show. So what she basically means is she was sent out on some feature
field trip,
because they would have asked her to fly to Russia for 6 weeks for no apparent reason.
But that is a lot to ask somebody. So basically, she's asked to leave her parents' home, like a young Jedi, like a young a person in Star Wars who's been identified with Force powers, who's removed from their family, Rob, at a young age. So she's asked to leave her parents' home, flown to Russia for 6 weeks, having only ever been abroad twice before. And Rob, at one point, she says producers even forced her to live with Bonnie, the Blue Peter dog, against her will.
Wow, that's beyond the pale.
You're living with a dog, all right?
That just feels like there was no one else to look after the dog, and they thought, well, she's young, she'll enjoy it. Alex, also, I imagine when she flew to Russia, she wouldn't have been by herself, surely. She would have been with like a camera crew or at least some BBC executives.
She says, look, it got to the point where I'd had enough. Being made to live with a dog, I had no say in it. You move out of your flat, you'll move in. They told her, you'll move out of your flat, you'll move into this house with the dog. And she said, being given this dog to look after at 18, and not just any dog, the most famous dog in the country, which I guess is true at that time.
Yeah.
And she said Bonnie was pining for her owner, scratching at the door every night. It was upsetting. Imagine how many hearts would have been broken if anything had been happened to us. And now, Rob, not only was she traumatised when I was watching this show, but it turns out the bloody dog as well was being maltreated. Why had they ripped the dog away? What was going on there, Rob? What is with it with the BBC, Rob? What is going on?
Again, Alex, I think the dog needed to adjust to the metropolitan liberal elite crowd. I think the dog was too white ring, personally. I think they needed to leave its home in the Shires and come to live the London lifestyle.
She says she was given no training from the show, despite being an actor rather than presenter, and was just left on her own. And the poor treatment...
Sorry, the BBC would not just stick you in front of a camera and say, here, present this.
Well, hang on a minute. That is what they did. What are you saying? You don't believe her?
But my point is, she must have auditioned for the role or something. She must have had some sort of experience. They wouldn't have just said, "Oh, she's got the right." Actually, this is BBC in the 80s. No, they would have said that.
Rob,
yeah, ignore what I said.
Rob, I just want to say again, please do not question the veracity of anything that Yvette Fielding says, I would like to remind you that Yvette Fielding presents probably the most scientifically rigorous and factually based programme on our TVs at the moment and can be completely relied on. Most Haunted.
Yeah. You're right, Alex. Yeah, and
of course we believe her. She, by the way, she alleges it was her boss Biddy Baxter who left after a year, and then she was fine. But apparently, this woman, she said it was incredibly traumatic and that she felt bullied. So obviously, there's no reason to disbelieve her. They are allegations at the moment. I want to flag them up. But some of those things, I would wish we had more detail in. Being flown to Russia for 6 weeks, being forced to live with a dog.
Fascinating.
Fascinating. Right, let's move on. I love this story, Rob. You must have come across this story. This is from Rob, the Scottish Sun. And of course, Scotland now, Rob, appears to be abandoning the SNP and turning to Labour, which I wasn't sure I'd ever see happen.
There was quite. I mean, that by-election was quite staggering. I don't think anyone was expecting that.
What did you make of when Keir Starmer was that guy got onto the stage? By the way, what kind of security was that?
Yeah.
And glittered, if that's the right term. Right, first of all, I wish Keir Starmer was better at thinking on his feet, because if that were me, afterwards I would have said, they're always saying I've got no stardust, look at me now.
Do you know what, Alex? I thought exactly the same thing. I mean, could you not just rift and say, look how the Labour Party is glittering or something like that? I mean, yeah.
But also, what I would have, because he had to do, and also, why didn't somebody just take him off? It's not like the speech could have been delayed 4 minutes. Take him off, brush it off, let him back on, rather than having to deliver the whole thing. It must have thrown him off his stride. But the other thing is that I think would have made him an absolute certainty for next Prime Minister, and I mean this, is if he'd actually just fought the bloke. I think if he'd grabbed the guy and wrestled him to the ground and gave him a few punches, he'd be Prime Minister. Like, that would have given him honestly, given him a good John Prescott, Rob.
Well, Angela Rayner made more or less that exact quote. She said, I thought I was going to have to do a John Prescott. But then she said, but then I turned to Rachel Reeves. Apparently, her quote was, I've never seen Rachel so angry. So I think she was alleging that Rachel Reeves was about to jump on stage and literally deck the guy.
I think if Rachel Reeves and Angela Rayner had got on stage and started beating the crap out of this guy, again, Labour would just be not even worth the Tories turning up.
Yeah, if there was like a Paul of Murd or something, or,
Keir Starmer has to realise as part of his bit, because I understand what people are looking for, but he also needs to understand that nowadays people are, what everybody seems to be searching for, the common denominator in terms of who people go for and who people are attracted to in politicians is people who just speak off the cuff and aren't afraid to be un-PC. That doesn't mean that he has to say un-PC things in the way that Boris did or Trump does, but what it means is he could literally stand on stage and go, fuck the Tories, and you're going to get a lot of votes.
Or if he turned towards the guy and went, fuck off, mate.
Yeah,
because I think that would have endeared him with the voters.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Keir, listen, I think I'd love to be. Imagine if you and me were employed to be Keir Starmer's strategist, Rob. I'd love that. Yeah,
that'd be a surefire way to lose the next election.
I don't think it would.
We've got some ideas,
Rob. I don't overestimate. No, I disagree. I would have some very good ideas for him. So screw you, Rob. Let's go to the Scottish Sun. 3rd of October. I love this story. Now, Rob, we are all being slowly cajoled against our will into a totalitarian, green nightmare of a future, Rob, where, we won't be able to drive, we won't be able to, emit huge amounts of fossil fuels into the atmosphere, even though that surely is our God-given right. And we're also going to be forced, probably, Rob, at some point to drive electric cars.
Yeah.
Shudder the thought. Well, Rob, here's a cautionary tale. Headline, Runaway EV Terror. Driver says car had mind of its own. After 30k electric, MG's brakes malfunctioned and took him on terror ride.
Right.
Have you not seen this story?
No.
It's absolutely brilliant. It went viral. Okay, I love this. A terrified electric car driver says his motor had a... Actually, Rob, when will this episode go out? Will it be Halloween? We'll be getting there.
No, it'll be the week before Halloween.
Okay, so we need to do a Halloween special next week.
Yeah,
because I like it when we do those with spooky stories. So if you have any, please send them over.
I mean, Alex, we are recording on I think it's fair to say Friday the 13th. I mean,
oh my God,
does that help?
Yeah. A terrified electric driver said his motor had a mind of its own after his brakes failed, sending him on a runaway terror ride. Brian Morrison, 54, said he's lucky to have avoided serious tragedy after his 6-month-old electric motor malfunctioned on his drive home from work on Sunday night. So here's what happened, Rob. Brian was travelling back to his home in Bishopbriggs near Glasgow from work in Kilsyth around 10 p.m. Wonder what he does. When 9 warning lights suddenly flashed on his dashboard. 9. Not 1, Great. 9. And Rob, he was suddenly unable to slow down. The brakes didn't work. After hitting the brakes and discovering the car wouldn't stop, he was forced to call emergency services, this is as he's driving, and a convoy of police raced to catch up to him. But after 15 minutes of being escorted by the cops, the decision was made by officers for Brian to bump into the back of one of their vans to bring it to a halt before they reached a busy main road. Brian says he has been left petrified. Right, so this convoy of cars turns up, Rob, and basically he has to plough into one of them in order to bring the car to a stop. That's what they did, a controlled stop.
That's
that way.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it is. But
I'm just... I don't know whether you could do this. I don't think you could do this. Could you not just turned off the engine? I suppose you couldn't have done that. I don't know, because I'm just thinking, if I was driving and that happened in my car.
I don't think that works, Rob. I don't know. Can you just turn off the engine? I mean, you'd coast, and you still wouldn't have any brakes, Rob.
No, but at least you would slow down. I mean, the car wouldn't come to immediate halt. At least it would come down. But also, it's an electric car.
You'd lose steering. You'd lose your power steering. You'd lose everything, Rob. You'd lose your other means of controlling the vehicle.
Well, then in my case, just coast into a field and hit a cow.
Yeah, Rob. He has been left petrified and fears getting back on the road in the vehicle. Now, wouldn't you? If I was in a car that brakes failed, not only would I be afraid to ever get in that car again, but you'd be afraid to get in any car every time you press those brakes. I think it would take a good 10 to 15 years before you believe that, it's okay.
But also, I think that this is the dangers of any fully automatic and also electric cars.
Yes,
because if there is a sort of a catastrophic failure like this, there is nothing you can do. I mean, at least even in my automatic, at least you can change down gears, but you can't do that.
He told the Scottish Sun, I'm still a bit shaken up, to be honest. I'm all for electric cars, but I didn't expect that. I first realised something was wrong because I suddenly got warning lights. Within 60 seconds, I had 9 of them. I went to pull over, put my foot on the brake, nothing happened. I tried the park button, engine off button, everything.
Right.
None of it worked, Rob. Then it was panic stations because it wouldn't stop. Everything was flashing. There's no way it could stop. I was calling it the runaway electric car. When he says that, does he mean in the moment? He was going, oh, you runaway electric car.
He was writing a film script. It's the whole thing.
I had to ring 999, and even they were shocked. They told me they'd never happened before. They'd never seen anything like it. I don't need chit-chat from them if I'm calling them in that situation. Oh, really? We've never heard it? Hey, Brian, you ever heard of this happening? No, we've never heard it. Help me. Is what I'm
I like the call. I like the idea the call hand was really questioning. Are you sure that's what's happened? Have you tried putting the brake on or things like that?
What I don't understand is he then says he called his partner who had to drive in front of him with their hazard lights on while he dialed 999. How did the partner get there so quickly? I mean, I don't know. It's just... Yeah, anyway.
Yeah, Alex, hang on. This is starting to ring alarm bells for me. So he's telling me that the partner...
No, Rob, you questioned Yvette Fielding for no reason. Now you're questioning this man.
Alex, but I think you make a very valid point. So he had enough time to call the police. He had enough time to call his partner who...
Well, are you saying it was going at like 5 miles an hour? Are you saying that's what happened?
I'm thinking of the Father Ted episode, the Father Ted episode in the runaway milk truck. He's driving at 15 miles an hour.
15? Okay, hang on. We'll get to that. Within minutes, police cars raced to him, drove beside him, in front of him and behind with their blue lights on. Police worked with their engineers and tried everything to bring the EV motor to a stop. Brian added, the police inspector came up beside me and asked, can you throw the car key out the window to my window and let me drive away fast? What was meant to happen was the key would come out of range and the car would cut off, but that didn't work either. I'm very lucky. It was risky to go left or right, so I had to keep going straight on. And when we got to a roundabout, the police asked me if I was willing to drive into the back of them. I was terrified. Even though I wasn't going at a fast speed, it's still worrying. I used to think 15 mile per hour was slow, but when you're in a car that can't stop, it's not slow. It's like 60.
Right. So 50, this guy could just bail out at any stage.
Would you jump out of a car at 15 miles an hour?
I would bail out of a car going 15 miles an hour. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Alex, hang on. If they're across the country...
Hang on. Rob's thrown down the gauntlet. So, for episode, 420 seems like a nice number. Rob and I are going to meet up somewhere, Top Gear style. I'm going to bring my car. We're going to drive down a country lane, and we're going to do this. And at 15 miles an hour, in your plastic trousers and your waterproof shoes,
yep,
and presumably some sort of helmet, you are going to jump out of the car. Yeah, should we do it? And we'll record it live.
Alex, what I'm saying is there are 20-mile-an-hour zones across this country. I think Wales are basically trying to impose an entire 20-mile-an-hour zone. The reason being is...
I live in one. Nobody does it.
Yeah, true. But my point is, the reason they said 20 mile an hour is if you have an impact...
sorry. When I say nobody does it, I mean that, for me, personally, I try and drive 15 to be extra cautious.
Yeah, well, nice caveat. My point is that if you get hit by a car going 20 mile an hour, it's unlikely that it'll be a fatality. That's the whole point behind that. So I think you could bail out of a car going 15 mile an hour and not do yourself any serious injury. I'm not taking you up on your
really. Are you? What if we I agree you can wear knee pads, elbow pads, and a cycling helmet. 15.
How about for episode 500?
Okay, let's do it. And we film it and we put it on YouTube. I'll investigate it. I'll do some tests in the car when I've got to go out for a drive later, and I'll see what 50 mile an hour actually feels like. Because I wouldn't want, it'd be hard to explain to Sarah that the reason that Lyra doesn't have a daddy anymore is because Alex insisted Rob jump out of a moving car. That would be a difficult conversation. Although, of course, it would ultimately be your responsibility, your choice.
Yeah, of course.
But I would also become, I guess, de facto godparent and have to
that's true,
and all the rest of it. The thing is, he said, I also have a mobility problem, so I thought I can't even jump from the car. There's nothing I can do. I just need to stay in the car because he's got a mobility problem, Rob. So that's what I did. And he's literally got a mobility problem here. So that's what I did. I crashed into the police van, and when I got towards him, he started driving off, so it wasn't as big as an impact. Clever. So he hits him, and then the car speeds away, so it doesn't... I don't quite understand how that works. Some physics going on there. Brian told me how the police officer driving the van managed to brake to slow the electric motor down before it eventually turned off. But the ordeal has had a lasting impact on Brian, who has been left, Rob, terrified. I just wanted to get out the car. I was terrified to get back in my other car. I was nervous about getting back into a car, getting behind the wheel. Physically, I'm fine, but mentally, I'm all over the place. I didn't get home until 5:30 a.m. because I had to wait hours for the RAC to come get the car because it was too dangerous to drive again to take it to the garage. Hang on a minute. I'm not disparaging our police services. Are you telling me a convoy of police cars came up to him, let him hit the car at a roundabout, slowed him down, and then just left him in the middle of nowhere with a car to ring the AA in the middle of the morning? Couldn't they have escorted him back with the car?
No, Alex, I think I have a feeling that's probably a conscious decision on his part. I don't think they wouldn't have left him there because I think they probably would have called an ambulance or something.
We think I'll be all right, lads. I'm with the RAC.
Yeah, I think that's what he's done. Alex, this man, I don't know. I don't want to victim blame here, but I'm just saying there are certain things about the story that I have questions about.
I can just say, if RAC want to use that for a small fee, you can. I'm all right, mate. I'm with the RAC. Brian's insurance company collected the car to investigate the reason behind the malfunction, but the ordeal has put Brian off from wanting it back. He fears it could have been much worse if the car stopped working at a busier time or with more traffic on the road. Can you imagine this on a motorway, Rob?
Yeah.
He said, I've already told the company I'm not willing to take the car back. I want a refund. I'm not willing to take it back, even if they repair it. I will never feel safe again. When the RAC turned up and did their diagnostics, they had 3 pages of faults. The guy said he'd never seen anything like this before. He said they were shocked. It was just as well it happened on a quiet road at 10 to 11 on a Sunday night. The police told me it could have been tragic if it was at a busier time. I'm still shaken. With everything in the media from the government about electric cars, I thought, this will be amazing. I was taken in by it and was looking forward to it. I got it brand new in March. I didn't expect any dangers. Then in the last 24 hours, 2 or 3 people messaged to say they've had similar experiences, but they didn't care because they put it into the garage to get it fixed. Huh? Yeah, mate, my car stopped, the brakes stopped working on the M25, but I'm not bothered. I gave it into the garage. Really?
Alex, all I can say, this is what happens if you buy an MG.
Yeah. Can I... Whoa. Rob takes that back. Can I just say, Rob, officers have confirmed they brought the car to a controlled halt. No one was injured as a result of the incident. A Police Scotland spokesperson said at 10:35 p.m. on Sunday, 1st of October, we received a report of a driver unable to stop his electric car on the A803 heading towards Kirkintilloch. The car was travelling at a low speed. Officers carried out a controlled halt with the aid of a police vehicle. There was no damage to either vehicle.
Great. I'm glad that's been resolved.
Rob, no damage to either vehicle means this car was probably going at under 10 miles, like, we're talking about 5 miles an hour. No damage.
That's my point, Alex.
there was no damage. This was not a terror ride, was it, Rob?
No, this man was out with the equivalent of a scenic drive, Alex. I mean, he's going lower than most speed limits in the UK.
Okay, Rob, that's me done. Stories, Rob?
So, Alex, I sent this story to you, and I'm not going to read it in full, but there was obviously snippets that I wanted to read. So, as people may or may not be aware, obviously we've already talked about the Labour conference, but prior to that was the Conservative conference in Manchester, which sounded, just. I mean, it's the equivalent of doom scrolling on Twitter by the sound of it. I mean, it sounds like it was an absolute car crash, and they've kind of almost admitted defeat in the next election. But the news that came out during the conference was the fact that obviously HS2 isn't being extended to Manchester, which, the whole idea of the Northern Powerhouse is slowly being taken apart piece by piece. What I also loved that I read the other day is, so HS2 obviously is supposed to deliver faster trains and cut the journey time between from London and Birmingham. But after Birmingham, the trains then go on to the conventional West Coast main line to get to Manchester. The problem is, the current trains are, and sorry, Alex, this may bore you, but the current trains tilt. So they can take corners at speed. So they can travel up to 125 miles an hour. The stock that's been ordered for HS2 do not have that functionality, so they would actually be travelling at slower than the current trains between Birmingham and Manchester.
Rob, in the last 2 minutes, I think we've probably lost a significant amount of listeners. I'm going to admit, I switched off quite a while ago. You were mentioning, my takeaway is that the new proposed trains on this new line are actually going to end up taking longer to do the journeys than the ones before because they don't tilt, thus making the whole point of high-speed rail ridiculous and redundant.
Yes, correct. That's exactly it.
Right.
But the idea was to compensate for severing the link between Birmingham and Manchester. They've unveiled this raft of infrastructure changes to the transport network across the north. Yeah. One of those is the extension of the Metrolink, which is the tram system that goes around Greater Manchester. So the government basically announced that they would invest in extending the tram networks to Hayward, which is not far from Bury, Bolton and Wigan, as well as, and I'm going to quote the Manchester Evening News article from the 5th of October by James Holt, they advised that the government also announced that the tram link would be extended to Manchester Airport as a trade-off for scrapping HS2, despite the fact the line already exists and was opened in November 2014, which is quite staggering.
So the government said, hey, we're going to extend it to the airport, but it's been doing it for years. Did nobody know this? I mean, we're now at pit. We're just past. We're in yes prime. We're in yes minister, yes prime minister, the thick of it level of satire. It's just, you couldn't write this stuff anymore, Rob. It's so incompetent.
Yeah, exactly, Alex. I mean, it's just when you get to the point where you just have to Google a fact to find out whether it's true, which no one apparently bothered to do. It's quite staggering. The article continues, in the announcement, a perspective map of the Network North plans was shared, which also appeared to show Manchester in the wrong place. I mean, absolutely staggering, Alex. I'm looking at the map now. It is too far north. I mean,
they didn't know where Manchester. Why didn't they consult? What did they just guess? Didn't they look at a real map? I'm confused.
Well, it looks like someone's just taken a map of the UK and taken a rough approximation about where these places are. It's
lucky that wasn't me.
Absolutely staggering.
I
haven't got the follow-up story, by the way. There is another story that came out quite recently that. So this long list of Network North proposed changes to the transport infrastructure apparently has been removed from the government website because these proposals apparently are not going to be sort of built into legislation. They're just suggestions, Alex.
Of course they are. Yeah, they're suggestions.
Yeah. suggested schemes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I just thought, if anyone from the north had missed that, I just thought I'd fill you in, because it looks like the Tories are shafting you again. Anyway, let's move on. So I don't often read stories out from the Men's Journal, but I'm going to do this time. I don't even know what the Men's Journal is.
What were you doing reading it in the first place?
No, Alex, it may shock you to hear that I am a man. Barely, but I am. And this story amused me. So it's from the 22nd of September from obviously the Men's Journal. It's by Declan Gallagher. And the story is Japanese wrestlers duke it out on a bullet train travelling 180 miles per hour.
You didn't plan this, of course, the train-related stories, but that sounds like a great idea for a video game.
It does, absolutely.
You know, like sumo wrestling on a high-speed bullet train. I just love that, Rob. I absolutely love it. That's
so, Alex. I would just say that they're not sumo wrestlers. I would just make that clear.
You did say that.
And did I say that? No, it just says Japanese wrestlers.
Oh, Japanese wrestlers. Okay, and I immediately thought sumo, and that was sort of stereotyped of me, and I apologised.
Thank you. I accept your apology. Now, I will
not really to you, Rob. It's more to the Japanese. If I offended, not you.
The people of Japan. Okay. I also accept the apology. Now, I will just say that this was a planned event. They didn't just get into a fight, unfortunately, which would have been far more entertaining.
Over the buffet car. What's it called? That buffet car. What's it called? The buffet car.
Buffet car. Yeah. Buffet car. Yeah. So Japanese professional wrestlers battered it out during their commute Monday in what organisers claim is the first wrestling match held aboard a bullet train. So pro wrestlers Minoru Tsukuzi and Sanshiro Takagi stage a fight inside the Nozomi Shikansen bullet train, sold out carriage during a journey from Tokyo to Nagoya. So Suzuki took several fighters, ultimately overpowering all of them in just over 30 minutes as the train reached speeds of 180 miles an hour. A montage of the fight shows wrestlers executing complicated moves to the narrow aisleway between seats. As they took each other to the ground, barely missing the armrests, fans and photographers rapidly cheered them on from the seats, just inches away. A referee did his best to control the mayhem. So Tokyo-based organisers DDT Pro Wrestling set up the event, taking advantage of the Central Japan Railway Co. policy, which allows customers to rent single train cars for private events. DDT reported that all 75 tickets for the match sold out in just under half an hour. Previously, the company has organised fights in such innovative places as bookstores and camping sites.
Rob, I'm sorry we're going to get back onto a topic. I mean, in a way, part of you is going to be thrilled I'm asking this. Why can't we have trains that go 180 miles an hour?
It's a good question, Alex. The reason being is because we
don't have the infrastructure.
Successive governments haven't invested in the railways, and their approach has always been make, do, amend, and not actually properly invest. Unfortunately, the closer we've come is, and you've started me off on one here. So I don't know if people know, but so HS2 is obviously the successor to HS1. HS1 is the line from St Pancras down to the Channel Tunnel, where trains can reach speeds of about 240 miles an hour.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately, which is an improvement on our current network. What I will say is, once they get to the continent, they can then up their top speed to 225 miles an hour.
Wow! And how fast was High Speed Rail 2 meant to be then?
The same sort of speed, about 140, I believe.
Well, then why call it HS2 then if it's not even an upgrade?
It's.
Sorry, if France can do it. Sorry. If France can have High Speed Rail, why can't we? Why can't we? Because
we still rely on the archaic infrastructure that was built, back in sort of the Industrial Revolution. The networks haven't dramatically changed since then, and the difference is that in order to allow a train to go fast, you have to minimise the curves, and you have to have basically vast straight sections of track. You can't.
Oh, I see. So you'd have to start knocking down houses, basically.
Basically, yeah. So you'd have to completely change the infrastructure of the country in order to allow high-speed rail.
I am worried again about people's level of entertainment now. But I was interested in it. Maybe we can talk off air. Or maybe people write and go, no, please, more rail talk. Can you do a podcast? Rail talk.
Can I just say that if people want us to do rail talk, I would love that.
Okay, Rob, before we get to our listener story of the week, you just said to me in that little interlull that you've made an error and you want to correct the record.
Yeah, I would be doing the listeners disservice. So just in the interim, I've just been onto the Institute of Civil Engineering's website, and
of course you have. That's his homepage.
Yeah, and HS1, the top speed is actually 185 miles an hour. I think 140 was actually the Javelin service to Canterbury, so it's a different train line.
So we're not doing that badly then. Okay, that's
185. Yeah, I mean, if the bullet train travels at 180 miles an hour, yeah, it's comparable to that. But I think,
but only that's all their network, isn't it? I think the difference is that stretches the majority of Japan, whereas we're talking that there's a line that goes from St Pancras to some remote places in Kent, and there's going to be a line between London and Birmingham. Again, Rob, I'm almost becoming too interested now, but I guess is there something of I think I'm using the wrong term here, but something almost of a rubber band effect problem with services. So, for example, for me, when I get my train into like Elephant and Castle, because of the distance I am from Elephant Castle isn't, like, let's say the difference between a train from Liverpool to London and me to Elephant and Castle, a train from Liverpool to London can go quicker because it's travelling much further and there's further between stops, whereas for me, we're having to stop every couple of minutes, so you could never get up to massive speeds anyway, even if you wanted to. Do you know what I mean? Is that part of the issue?
It is, and also, and this is going to get really tedious now, but a classic example is Catford. So Catford has got two stations that are literally within walking distance apart. The reason for that is you have two competing railway companies back in the 1800s. They both wanted to have a line going through that kind of place. So you have two lines that serve the same community that competed in terms of times and their destinations. And London is why you've got so many different railway lines going across London and all over the country, is the fact that all these lines were built without any sort of unifying plan. They were basically allowed to do whatever the fuck they liked. And as a result of that, you've got over-congested railways with too many stations, and too many bottlenecks, effectively. I mean, the classic example, the reason they built a new line to Birmingham is because Birmingham New Station is a massive bottleneck, and if anything goes wrong there, it affects the rest of the network.
Rob, I am actually genuinely interested in this, and I mean that, but I do want, I am worried. Like, if I'm an American listener right now, I'm thinking, what on earth are you guys talking about? Or they may be interested.
Yeah, maybe.
Can you ever think and tell us what the solution is to this, and come up and give us a solution next week, Rob? It's time for our listener story of the week. What you got? Who's it from?
Okay, it is from Face of Strange. I felt this is a very autumnal story. I felt this is why I wanted to feature this. Right. It's for a paper that I don't think we featured, and is a local paper as well. So this is from the Peterborough Telegraph, which has the strapline "News you can trust since 1948." So good to know. It's by Ben Jones from the 7th of October, and the headline is World Conquer Championships, village near Oundle ready to host challengers looking to go forth and conquer. Nice pun. Right, yeah.
This is a peculiarly, I think, British thing, isn't it? Conquer Championships? I don't know.
Yeah, it feels very, very British. Yeah. Very sort of parochial, that kind of thing. So organisers are hoping for a bumper turnout of contestants and spectators for the event, which will see over 4,000 prime conkers gathered from horse chestnut trees used. The conkers will then be graded, precision drilled, and laced before handed over to competitors to battle it out for the title of world champion and have their conkers as the last one standing.
Just in case anybody doesn't know, like, they're not doing sort of strange things with their testicles. Conkers are things that grow on certain trees. I don't know what tree. You probably know, Rob. Conker tree.
The horse chestnut. Yeah, horse chestnut.
The horse chestnut tree. There we go. Yeah. Can you eat conkers? Are they like chestnuts in that regard? Can you roast them?
Do not eat a conker. No, they are poisonous.
Oh, okay.
Just to put that. Just the phrase, conkers when be graded, precision drilled and laced. it does imply that, there's something sexual about that. So last year's ladies women's champion, Fee Islemore, will be defending her hard-won title, but organisers are yet to hear from the men's champion, Canadian Randy Topolsky, potentially offering
what
a chance
great
for
name.
Yeah. Is that what's that? Topolsky? No, Topolinsky. Sorry, Randy Topolinsky. So potentially offering the chance for a new competitor to take the crown.
There's just lots of bands to be out there. Oh, Randy, you got your conkers. You Randy, conker, etc.
Have your conkers firmed up, Randy?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So organisers have already faced major issues in the build-up to the event, with the decision have been made to bake the conkers to harden the seeds. This had previously been considered cheating, but heat waves and wet weather have left conkers softer and mushier than normal. Leans fears that the games would be competitive if they were not hardened. There you go, Alex. So apparently, British conkers are harder and mushier this year than normal. In case anyone was wondering.
Well, mine definitely are.
Yeah. but you've seen the docs about that, right?
No, I think it's just the weather. That's what I think it's to do with.
Fine. Apparently, organisers are even planning on asking for the games to be included in the Paralympics. Is that a joke?
Why not? Why not the regular Olympics as well?
Good question, Alex.
No. I'm asking you. The conquer play, if that's a term, isn't the preserve of people with disabilities, is it? Everybody does. Right?
Well, apparently they consider it an ideal sport for any disability, especially T32 to T34 wheelchairs and visually impaired T11 to T13 and many other classifications.
But isn't that a bit... Sorry, I find that a bit patronising to people with disabilities. Like, why don't you do this? Play conkers. People with disabilities can take part in all manner of sports, as they prove in the Paralympics all the time, and in a sense are achieving even more than able-bodied people, if that is the correct term, or non-disabled people, because... Yeah, so saying, why don't you play conkers? I'm sure it wasn't meant like that, but it's like saying, why don't we put tiddlywinks in there? Because, what are they talking about? To be honest, I don't think I might be wandering into territory here and probably saying ridiculous things, because this is actually an area I have very little knowledge about, so I'm probably better off saying nothing.
I don't know, Alex. I think you might be onto something, because I imagine if you turn up to the Olympic Village and you see all these incredible people who are competing in like
everything,
the 100-meter relay and and various different swimming contests, and so what's your discipline? Conkers. Right? Anything else? No, just conkers. I think they might be ostracised, to be honest.
Well, I'm saying if you're going to include it in the Paralympics, you've got to include it in the regular Olympics. That's the whole point. Not to start saying, right, I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
If any Olympians are listening, please get in touch.
Yeah, absolutely. So King Conquer, the Lord Robarts Regiment, and the Town Crier will conduct the opening. So I do know who King Conquer is, but they don't expand on that. King Conquer, the Lord Robarts Regiment, and the Town Crier.
Sounds like a porn name.
Can I Google King Conquer? Is that a good idea?
No.
Apparently, they'll conduct the opening ceremony at 11th. Oh, sorry, the junior competition at 10:30 and the main competition at 11 p.m. 11 a.m. even. Prices to watch the event is £7 for adults, £5 for sessions, and £15 for family ticket, which I think is very reasonable.
So do I, actually, and I think that's priced about right.
Yeah. Hang on, here we are. We've got a picture of King Conquer. Oh, King Conquer's daughter wins World Championship. Oh, when's that from? That was last year. Oh, there we go.
I don't want to be accusing anybody of corruption or cronyism or nepotism, but the daughter of King Conquer wins the championship. Doesn't that a bit? Yeah, suspicious?
I think that's Fee, by looks of it. This is actually, strangely, this is from the Telegraph. Apparently, it was fitting news for them to cover. Apparently, King Conquer is actually a Chelsea pensioner. So there you go.
Is a Chelsea pensioner a type of conker? Because it sounds like it. Oh, that's a Chelsea pensioner, that one. Or are you saying he's a pensioner from Chelsea?
You might, hang on, do you not know who the Chelsea pensioners are?
No.
Oh. The Chelsea pensioners, they were, how do I describe it? So they're part of the Royal Chelsea Hospital. They're the ones in the red uniform, if you've ever seen them. And
like beefeaters?
Not really. I mean, they're pensioners as well. I don't know what.
Rob, if I'm an international listener, well, I've got no idea what you're talking about. If I'm an international listener right now, I'm thinking, what is this crazy country? What are you talking about? sorry, describe to me now what a Chelsea pensioner is. Maybe I'll just put it into Google.
Okay, hang on. Right, here we go. So the Royal Hospital Chelsea is a retirement home and nursing home for over 300 veterans of the British Army. Founded as an almshouse, the ancient sense of the word hospital.
Oh, right.
It is a 60-acre site located on the Royal Hospital Road in Chelsea. So that's what it is. So it's anyone who served in the Royal British Army is welcome to.
And it's also a type of conker, the Chelsea pensioner.
There's nothing to suggest that. We don't know. That's pure speculation.
Well, that brings us to the end of this riveting episode, I'm sure you'll agree, of Local Anaesthetic Podcast. There'll be more rail talk next week, of course. We'll get an update from Rob. Rob is going to solve the nation's rail problems. Between this episode and next week, I am going to drive around 15 miles an hour, and I'm going to really try and get a feel for if it's appropriate for our 500th episode to have Rob hull himself out of the vehicle wearing elbow pads, knee pads, some sort of rudimentary helmet, and of course his all weatherproof, waterproof shoes, which I assume have some sort of orthopedic quality as well. Rob hasn't. He probably gave himself a little lift in there, let's be honest. That's what it's really about, listeners.
It's quite Chunky Soul, I will be honest.
Yeah, we can be. Chunky Soul was a great album, of course, by the Chelsea Pensioners.
Yes, it was. Yeah, that was.
It was sort of there was Rubber Soul. Yeah, there was Rubber Soul, but it was really duking it out with Chunky Soul.
Yeah.
A lot of people still remember Rubber Soul as being the better album, but to me, Chunky Soul will always win out. We can be found on our website, LAPodcast.net. From there, you can download all of our previous episodes, of course, for free. Please donate. There's a donate button. Just think of it as a tip. You've had a coffee from somewhere, think of this as your coffee, and you say, hey, barista. Not comparing ourselves to baristas, of course, but here's 10p. If you want to leave us some sort of tip or a rolling donation, indeed, it would really help us out with the running costs of this podcast. And for that, we will send you a link so that you have access to all of the Daft Talk episodes we did, which was another podcast we once did, as well as there's a whole raft of bonus episodes called LA Podcasts and Extra Jabs. You can get 40, 45 something extra episodes of LA Podcasts that we did, which we love doing. They're all there. But yeah, that would really help us out. We'll be back in a week's time with episode 412. We've really enjoyed your company as always. God bless.
And keep it local.